Hello, everybody. Welcome to Podcast with Nick. I am your host, Nick Azzarello, and this is the very first episode of Podcast with Nick, where we sit down and talk to interesting people with interesting careers. It could be about anything at this point. So for my first guest, she's a meteorologist in El Paso, Texas, but she also does meteorology and weather reports in other states. Um, so without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Miss Katie Frazier. Katie, welcome.
Thank you so much. Yeah, happy to be here.
Thank you. So, what? Well, I guess we'll start from the beginning. What got you interested in becoming a meteorologist?
Yeah, that's, I think, a question that pretty much everyone gets when you're in meteorology or really any job, right? But I definitely didn't always want to be a meteorologist, but I always loved science ever since I was a young girl going through, elementary, middle, high school. Always science was my favorite. But then I narrowed it down to earth science. Earth science is still definitely my favorite. But actually, my whole life I wanted to be a marine biologist. So I guess maybe a branch of earth science, but not really, more life science than. But when I was a junior in high school, I realized there weren't that many jobs for marine biology, at least paying jobs. And so I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. The only other thing I like are looking up at the clouds and checking out the radar. So from there, I chose meteorology, not knowing how tough it would be when you actually get into college and start studying meteorology. But you know what? I don't regret it for an instant. I love being a meteorologist. I love understanding the weather. And so, yeah, that's what got me into meteorology, just loving the clouds and the radar.
That's a pretty cool story of how you got there from marine biology to meteorologist.
Yes.
It's quite a leap. When
Oh,
when when you were thinking about that, I guess in the process of applying for colleges and doing this as, working your way doing this as a career, did you watch like the meteorologists like on like weather reports and thinking like, oh, this is what I'll have to do. Like I want to be like that person.
you know what? No. So I chose meteorology not knowing exactly what I was planning on going to be doing.
Mm.
So also another side fact is I used to be deathly shy. Like I wouldn't even raise my hand in class. So it is kind of ironic now that I do speak in front of thousands of people, on a daily or weekly basis. So it is a little bit ironic there. But you know, when I decided to go into meteorology, I had no idea that I was going to be a broadcaster. But then in about my sophomore year, I was like, okay, you know what? I rather do TV than go into the National Weather Service. And so, yeah, that's kind of what put me through. Now, once I decided to become a broadcast meteorologist, then I started watching all of the different meteorologists out there.
Ah, I see. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Because when you mentioned you were very shy, I could probably just imagine when you first had your first time being on TV, being a meteorologist, or even if you were told, I'm sure you probably thought, oh no, what did I get myself into?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I almost had a heart attack. The very first time I did a live hit, and then um, at my first job, like real TV, I was just so glad I didn't have like a mini panic attack on air. I made it through my hit. I was okay, but yeah, it was just so nerve wracking. And then also, I grew up in Las Vegas, Nevada, so yeah, weather is important there, but it's not as important as it is in like the South, where you have the severe storms and whatnot. So of course I grew up watching the weather, but it was never like, oh, we have these severe thunderstorms moving in. And that's what just interested me so much about the weather on the east side of the Rockies. On the west side of the Rockies, it's completely different. On the east side of the Rockies, you have people who really have to track some serious weather. And so growing up in Vegas, I didn't really get to see that. Not until I, decided to go on the broadcast route did I actually witness, the talking power that meteorologists have.
Hmm. So how long do you think it took you to feel fully comfortable doing it? Did Was it not that long?
A part of me would say I'm still not even comfortable doing it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, it's scary. It could be, very stressful. And when you have something that's really serious, like, I've never had the opportunity to cover a tornado as of yet, but one day I will. And that, tornadoes can kill someone. So it
Yeah.
is still, very like a scary and thing. Like, you have to have confidence to do it. But I will say I'm a much more confident forecaster now than I ever have been. And I would say it took me a good 3 to 4 years to get here.
Yeah, because I've seen quite a handful of your reels of reporting the weather, and it just seems like that that you got it all together. That you're a natural. If there were any where you were nervous, I guess I haven't noticed. I haven't seen them, or maybe they were there and I didn't pick it up. You know?
Sure, sure. And I mean, yeah, in live TV, you get one shot and one shot only. And so I've been like, probably from what you or anyone has seen of me, those are probably maybe, my better clips, right? But when you're on TV, you get one shot. And of course, you might stumble over your words, just like I might, when talking with you right now. So,
Right.
but yes, I mean, it takes time and it takes repetition to become a confident forecaster. And so, while yes, I still might have some scary moments every now and then, I am way more confident. And now that I have over 4 years of experience in TV.
Sure. I would also imagine probably an easy way to have that confidence because if you're just talking in front of a camera and you don't see, there aren't people literally watching you, you don't see them. So I guess it's kind of easy if you put yourself in that mindset compared to if you're on stage and everyone's watching you. I bet you that would be a little bit more scarier.
Absolutely. That's a great point. When you're in the studio, and now, that I have my own studio, it's just me, literally.
Yeah.
But when you're in an actual TV studio, yeah, normally you only have one, two, maybe three other people in the newsroom or in the studio, rather. Now, sometimes, an important person will walk in, like, I've had the city mayor, walk in when I'm doing my forecast. But you know what? You don't even think about it. And I would tell you that if you were looking at the camera thinking, I have like 20,000 people watching me right now. Oh, why would you do that to yourself? That's definitely going to make you more, nervous. So I kind of just block out any thought of a bunch of people watching.
Sure. Yeah. And if they would have any criticism, I mean, what could they possibly say? You're reporting the weather, you know.
Right.
What would they know?
Right.
You're not exactly acting. In a way, you are performing. So I guess you can kind of count yourself as a performer if you wanted to.
You know what? I actually would consider myself as a type of performer, right? Because, I have the arm movements and I have, I mean, I don't know, I can't think of one, but maybe there's certain things that I say, like catchphrases almost. But, you have to have a certain way of how you talk. Um, we'll have consultants come in and they say, you need to work on your intonation. You need to work on just your sentence structure. You need to breathe. So these are all things that actors probably have to do too. And so, yeah, it is essentially a performance. It might not always look like one, but I would definitely consider it as a type of performance.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, so of course you mentioned that now you do your own thing, and I believe it is KFW, which
Yep.
stands for Katie Frazier Weather, probably.
Yep.
Is
Yep.
that it?
Yep. KFW Studios.
So,
I my own business. Yeah.
yeah, so that's probably how you're doing the weather, or are you also working for a weather, a news broadcast where you go there? Do you do both ways?
I do literally everything.
So
So,
you just do it yourself.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I will say, I'll start off by saying having your own business is the most amazing feeling, and it really gives you a whole new level of freedom that you don't get when you're working your 9 to 5 or whatever hours you work, and especially working at a TV station. But with KFW Studios, I broadcast live for different TV stations. So far, I've already covered 6 remote, like from my home here in El Paso. I've covered 6 different TV stations across the country. And then, of course, my very first TV job, sometimes they need occasional help here in El Paso. So I'll actually go into the studio and help them out. Um, I've been contacted by folks who are interested in radio forecasts. I have had people reach out about maybe like regional forecasts. So, yeah, I do a little bit of everything. And then one of my other big um, contracts that I'm working with is a company called LoneStarLive.com. And so it's not like TV broadcasts, but it's digital articles that I write on a daily basis for them. So yeah, I literally do everything, and it's really cool because it helps me grow as a meteorologist and get different sides of the industry, and doing it all myself.
Cool. So when you started doing it yourself, obviously you have your own equipment, your own green screen, your own lighting, your own camera. I'm assuming you do it by yourself. You don't have someone as a helper doing this. Is that right?
That is correct. Yep. So, I'm my own production assistant as well. So, when I come out here, and of course I do my normal forecasting process with all my laptops and whatnot. And I have the studio that I'm standing in right now. And of course, yep, as you mentioned, the studio lighting and the TVs and everything. So I just turn everything on. It's not too hard. I just turn everything on and then make sure your mic. You got to keep your mics charged. That's something that when you're working at a TV station, you don't even have to think about because it's the production that worries about that. But nope, it's my responsibility to make sure everything's charged, everything's ready to go, the signal's good. So, yeah, I'm a bit of a one-man band.
Yeah. And of course you had to teach yourself all that, but I'm sure you received a little bit of insight from working at TV studios. Maybe you had to do that as well, right? Or maybe you didn't have to do any little production work assistance.
You know what? Yes, of course. I've definitely had help along the way. Definitely thankful for those who have helped me to get here. My current partner, he's great in technology, so he's definitely helped me out with like Wi-Fi stuff like that.
Mm,
I'm not that great in Wi-Fi, so I definitely have to give a shout out to him. And then also, um, when I was first getting the studio up, I wanted to make sure that it could actually work. And so my good friends there at Channel 7 in El Paso, Texas, they actually helped me do a couple test runs here at the studio. And they're like, oh man, this is crazy how this can actually work. So definitely have had help along the way. But also just knowing the general setup of a studio. I mean, you learn that when you work in one for a couple years. So that's basically what I've tried to replicate at my at-home studio.
cool. And now I saw a video you were talking about it. There's a program you use. It's called Live View. Is that right?
Yes,
That's how you're able to broadcast the weather remotely.
exactly. Yeah.
I don't know. Do you know if there are other people, meteorologists or, doing that kind of like what you're doing? Or would you say you're sort of one of a kind or, early doing this?
You know what? I know that I'm not the only one. So there's definitely other meteorologists who are doing that as doing this as well. In fact, the main guy he pitched the idea to Nexstar, and now he's doing essentially this, but for Nexstar on a company wide basis. So they created the Dallas Weather Center. So yeah, there's other people who are doing this, and then I think also more people are getting interested in it as people leave the industry because it is a difficult industry. It's a low paying industry, typically very hardworking, high stress type of job. So people are leaving left and right, but they're like, I would love to still do a little bit of weather, right? And so what they'll do is they'll do something like this, or at least go into their local TV station and freelance for them too. So I can't say I'm the only one, but
Yeah.
I can say that it's been a wonderful opportunity.
Oh, nice. Yeah, because when I've seen some of the videos that you've done, excuse me, that you've done one with in Erie, Pennsylvania. Then I think it was Missouri. Is that right? And,
Yep, I've been to 2 stations in Missouri now.
yeah, because I saw all the different stations from these different states, and at first I thought, oh man, this person's been working at different states, been moving, and then I saw deeper. I'm like, oh, she's doing this remotely. That's pretty interesting. And
Yeah.
and I would imagine if you're doing, weather broadcasts from different states, you would probably get a high chance of being recognized when you're out in the open, would you say?
Well, unfortunately, I've never had the opportunity to go actually visit my freelance
Uh,
cities. So, but actually, this is an interesting comment because just this week, I was at a local event here in El Paso. And of course, yes, I still do get recognized here in El Paso
right.
because I was here locally. But this woman, an older woman, she she couldn't put her finger on it, but then she realized it was me, and then she had someone who said, "Hey, that girl worked with your daughter." And then so she came back up to me and she said that my daughter works at Erie News Now, where I worked as well. And so that was the first experience where someone who might have also known me locally as well, but realized that I also worked in Erie, Pennsylvania, actually with her daughter. And so it was just kind of cool because we are very far from Erie, Pennsylvania here in El Paso, Texas.
Oh, well, I'll tell you something, a little factor by myself. I live in Pennsylvania, so that's
Okay.
that's, but not Erie. I'm 6 hours away from Erie,
Okay. Okay.
so my only chance of seeing it would be on YouTube, just
Sure.
doing some Google searches and such.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I remember. So, what would be like a day in a life? And I guess, obviously, busy, getting up early. But would you say when you're in El Paso, being there in the studio working versus doing it on your own? I assume the latter is much more challenging and much more different, right? And maybe you could share a little day in a life. I'm sure it's always different.
You know what? It is different when you talk about the weather, right? Because, whether I'm forecasting in El Paso or forecasting in Pennsylvania, obviously there will be some changes in the weather, but also, even from Erie, Pennsylvania 1 week to Erie, Pennsylvania the next week, you could also have changes in the weather. So, yes, the weather is always changing, but the routine is about the same. So, and I definitely live by a routine. So I know exactly how long it takes me to get ready. You got to get, looking decent to be on TV. So I know exactly how long it takes me, about an hour, not that long actually. Um, and then I know exactly how long it takes me to build a show. That could be anywhere from 1 to 2 hours. And then after that, well, you have to take into account, all right, how many social media posts do I have to do? How long will it take me to write the article? So you add, okay, I don't know, an extra 30 minutes, extra hour, and then of course your show, however long that is. So, yeah, the early mornings, I might be waking up at 2, might be waking up at 4. It
Mm,
takes me an hour to get ready, an additional 1 to 2 hours to get the show ready. And then, I'm on air for however long it takes. And then, of course, while I'm either on air working, I could be doing social media posts as I'm on air as well, or, doing radio hits when I'm in the backgrounds. So you could kind of weave in some of your duties throughout the show. But yeah, it's of course the morning shows are early wake ups and there's late shows too that'll keep you up late at night. So it really just depends on what shift you're covering and also how many shifts with my
right,
business as well.
right. And you would know when they contact you, these weather stations. Now, do you usually, well, I guess you would have to write them yourself because I think you mentioned that you would write what you would say, or would they say, hey, it's going to be like this. Here's what you need to say.
No, no, absolutely not. I mean, to a degree, right? When you're working with a weather team, they might say, oh, hey, we're seeing this, Katie. Are you seeing it too? I'm like, yeah, I'm seeing it. Like, okay, like if it's a severe weather scenario, okay, we're seeing the potential on Friday. Just make sure you talk about, hey, there's this big event on Friday, and give them the forecast. But they don't actually tell me it's going to be 50 degrees on Friday, so make sure you talk about the 50 degrees. I mean, I am a meteorologist myself, so I'm fully capable of forecasting on my own. And so I absolutely, nobody has ever told me, you got to say this. And if you don't say it, we're firing you. Like
Right.
when you're on TV, you pretty much have the flexibility, or at least on the meteorology side, you have the flexibility to say what you want to say.
So it's not like someone wrote a teleprompter for you to read off of.
Absolutely not. That's never happened to me. So, yeah.
Sure, sure. I'm curious, when you do the ones from other states, do they actually say like broadcasting from her home in Texas is Katie Frazier, or do they not say that? And for all the viewers know, you could really be living there in that state.
Yeah. So that has been something that is kind of interesting. But you know what? I think that people who are living in a city, they want their weather person to be there. Let's be honest. They
Right.
they want someone who's also experiencing the same weather as they are, so it's relatable. And they're going to the same restaurants. They're driving the same roads. So I definitely know that that's what people prefer. And so they're like, if I were to announce, yeah, I'm in Texas, y'all, sorry, Erie, Pennsylvania, you guys are suffering from very
Hmm,
cold temperatures, or Joplin or St. Joseph, Missouri. Like the last week I was forecasting for them, and they're talking about, or I was talking about -30-degree wind chills. Wow.
hmm,
I've in El Paso, it was like 60 that day. So, you know, so no, we don't announce that I'm in another state.
sure.
Um, and yeah, just for the viewers' sake. But then, if they look on my social media, they'll eventually find out. Of course, I've gotten some pushback, but then I've also had some folks who are like, "Hey, we just like that you're telling the weather, so thank you." I mean, maybe it would be ideal if we had someone who actually lived here, but you know what? As long as you're giving us a forecast and it's somewhat accurate, we're all right with that.
Cool.
Yeah.
And I know with most of these their websites like ABC, of course, their local stations, they would have a website and have the like a page of the staff that works there.
Right.
Would they technically count you, or would any of them count you?
Some have.
Okay.
Yeah, some have. Erie News Now, I was supposed to work with, or I worked with them for, I don't even know how many months. I want to say at least 4. And I was their weekend meteorologist, and they had me doing doubles. So I worked both the morning and the evening. So it was, that was a difficult shift, every weekend, always working. And so, yeah, they put me on the website. They acted like I was a true member of their team. And I mean, I was, I really
Mm,
was. I just wasn't actually there in Pennsylvania.
right. And of course, I'm sure this is all live, or would some of them be pre-recorded and you send them out later?
So it depends on what the station wants. With Erie, Pennsylvania, it was always live, but with Erie News Now, oh my goodness, they also recorded for the Caribbean too. So those were actually recorded hits that would go to their Caribbean station. So yeah, I was also being broadcasted live in like the U.S. Virgin Islands and all over the place, which is kind of crazy. But in Bend, Oregon, when I was working for them, they just wanted to be safe rather than sorry. And they didn't, in case something were to happen, that, oh, the signal went out, that they would have a backup weather. So before the shows, I would actually go through and record full weathers for them. But I don't recall ever having the signal drop out. I mean, you never know. Technology can always, mess up on you, but I don't recall them actually ever having to pull in the recorded hits.
Cool. So, I don't think I asked you this. What got you started to doing it on your own with your own studio? Just like what you're doing now. How did you come up with that idea?
Well, it's like kind of like a sad story, but not real. Okay, not that sad. You know, I always wanted to move on from my first market. I mean, El Paso it's a great city, but it's not the city I've always wanted to live in forever. So, of course, I was applying to different jobs. It's just natural in TV. You go from market one to market two, very typical. So I was applying, and there were some jobs I really, really wanted, like one in particular, New Orleans. I apparently I was in one of the top running spots, but they ended up not going with me, and it
Hmm.
broke my heart.
Oh,
I was devastated. Yeah, I was like, oh my gosh. And some of the other jobs that there, yeah, it didn't feel right. And so I was kind of at a loss. So then I did actually work with ABC a little bit longer, but just as a full-time, or not full-time, but just as only weather, not doing reporting, because my first job was reporting too. So then I'm like, okay, what do I do? I don't want to be here in El Paso forever, but I need to make money, right? I can't
right.
just I can't just be living on the side of the road. So
No.
um, it just kind of fell into my hands. There was an opportunity where this gentleman was teaching folks of how to set up their own studio, and so I was like, "Oh, absolutely!" And then basically, he is the like founder of this idea of putting up the studio lights, and I think that he also kind of started doing it because of COVID, when people actually had to build the studios at home because of whatever restrictions were happening.
Hmm.
So basically, I took that idea, and man, I ran with it, and it's worked out really great ever since.
Yeah, because I've seen some behind the scenes videos of you getting your stuff ready and what it's like, and it looks pretty simple. Uh, I guess
Yeah,
probably the I guess probably the one risky thing, the danger, is if something happens to your Wi-Fi,
yeah,
and
exactly.
hopefully that doesn't happen too often.
Yeah, I mean, you got to plan for it. So, of course, I have very strong Wi-Fi, backup Wi-Fi as well. I mean, I have looked a little bit into getting Starlink. I haven't made that jump yet, but I mean, that sounds like a pretty good option as well. But you need high, I guess, high speed internet or streaming. I mean, I'm streaming, so it needs to be really good. I mean, I can't be jumping around on the screen where it looks like I'm super choppy. So I have to have good internet. That is the most important thing.
Right. Yeah, I'd like to show you one little thing. Yeah, I know you were talking about video production and how you set your own stuff up, but
Hmm.
I don't know if you've ever seen something like this before, called the
Okay.
Filmmaker's Handbook. So it's like if you ever went to college and majored in like video production, or in my case, it was called electronic media. That was my
Yeah.
major in Kutztown University. This wasn't our textbook, but it to me, it's basically the textbook of the whole major. In fact,
Okay.
one of the references was an audiobook that we even used. But I don't know if you ever need to learn more, I recommend this guy, the Filmmaker's Handbook.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. I will look that up after this.
yeah, sure. Take your time.
Yeah.
So, you have any favorite any good memories, whether it was in El Paso or you're doing it virtually, remotely? I guess there can't be too many memories when you're just doing it in your studio, or maybe you do.
I mean, favorite memories. I mean, there are so many memories. Maybe not a favorite memory, but in the summertime, that's pretty much the only time we get rain here in El Paso, and that's when I was forecasting for Erie, Pennsylvania. And there were times when in Erie it was stormy, and in El Paso it wasn't. And there were times when it was sunny and wonderful in Erie, and then it was actually stormy here in El Paso. And I just remember, like, please don't let there be thunder. Please,
Hmm.
no thunder during my forecast, because of course I'm wearing a good mic and whatnot, but they probably could hear something if it were loud enough. So I just, there's some high stress, or not. Well, of course, there's high stress, all types of stress when you're on TV. Favorite memories actually probably do have to be when I was working at Channel 7. And interestingly enough, maybe not even when I was doing the weather, um, I had the amazing opportunity to do a like almost like a flight school for the day. And so I went up with a flight instructor, and he actually had me fly the plane,
Mm.
without really any training. And we literally flew the plane together. And I mean, that kind of just, I already loved planes, so that just like put the cherry on top. So that was probably one of my best experiences. And then just doing live weather from the field, when you're out at an event and you're talking with people, and then you're like, all right, and now here's the weather. Like those are always fond memories.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the flight lesson because I saw that video.
Yeah.
That was something I wanted to ask how'd you get involved with that? And because I'm thinking, well, that I don't know if that's really weather related because you didn't really report unless you didn't put that in your demo reel because that's how I found it.
Okay. So well, at Channel 7, I was both meteorologist and reporter. That's very typical in
Oh,
your first job nowadays. And so I would, of course, do the weather on the weekends. And then during the week, I would be doing reports. And so I always have loved flying, and it just kind of happened to fall in my hands where I started doing these flying stories. And so I kind of made this segment called Frazier Takes Flight.
mhm.
And so I would, I really would try and do any story that relates to flying. And I was pitching one day that, the flight industry is really struggling, and it still is. There's not enough pilots. There's really not enough of any position out there. And so I was doing a story with that angle, but man, they were like, hey, we'll take you up. Are you interested? I'm like, absolutely, yes. And so, yeah, we went up in the sky, and nothing is better than sitting in one of those planes. It's really amazing.
Yeah, that must be really cool. Were there a few occasions you had the chance to do that, or was it only one time?
So I ended up meeting some pilots randomly. And so another gentleman who also worked out of that same like uh, Doniana airport here in near El Paso, but it's technically Doniana County. Um, this gentleman, he has this, or he at least flies this very old helicopter. Like I want to say it was in Vietnam, and so I also had the opportunity to fly in that helicopter a couple times. Also doing a story, I did a story where we flew around this crater called Kilbourne's Hole, and it was a geological feature that happened millions of years ago. So yeah, I've had a couple opportunities to actually fly both in small planes and helicopters and even hot air balloons.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Do you think it's possible you may do that as a career, or is it not, or maybe not? Do you think you'll just stick with meteorology?
Well, a part of me is like, absolutely. It would be so cool to be a pilot, and I mean, or just do something in the flight industry. Yes, I am interested, and at least I would have the meteorology knowledge already.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, so of course, with your busy schedule, it seems like you're busy. Well, probably not every day, but it probably feels like almost every day. I'm sure you try to find time to have some time for yourself,
Yeah.
because I'm sure it can take a toll on your mental health. Like, what do you like to do to relax as best as possible? Is that easy?
You know what? I will say, once again, the benefit of having your own business is you are your own boss. And so you could even say, hey, no, I don't want to do this shift. Sorry. Or, well, maybe it's not a matter of I don't want to do it. Maybe I'm out of town, or maybe I have scheduling issues already. So I have the option to say yes or no to these shifts, which is really nice. But also with any business, it ebbs and flows. It ebbs and flows. So sometimes I'm extremely busy, and sometimes I'm not. And
Mm.
so actually, to be quite honest, right now I'm not that busy. I
Oh.
I haven't had many bookings recently. I think because there's been like several layoffs,
Mm.
but then also some of my former TV stations, they're like, "Hey, we need some help. Can you help us?" Like, "Oh, we have someone calling out tomorrow. Can you help us?" I'm like, "Absolutely." So, it definitely goes up and goes down. Right now, I'm a little slower, but I definitely have hope that it'll pick up, or another opportunity will come around. So, things that I like to do to just enjoy life. I mean, Yeah, I just like to stay at home a little bit.
Mm,
Sometimes I'm a homebody. Sometimes I like to go out to local events. Of course, any opportunity I get to travel, that's like probably my favorite thing to do. So traveling, getting out of town and seeing the world, those are probably my favorite things.
that's cool. Have you
Yeah.
ever seen the world? Have you traveled to any other countries, do you think?
Yes, and I have to sneeze all of a sudden. Hopefully I
Oh,
don't have to.
that's okay.
But
Take your time.
okay. So yeah, traveling to other countries. Finally, this year or last year, I finally made it to Europe. I mean, of course, I think that's on most people's bucket list.
Mm,
So I did a cruise down the Rhine River.
mm.
It was a Viking cruise, so I will say pretty cool. A little bit average age was much older than myself, so hanging out with some, you know, older folks, but you know what? I loved it, every single moment of it. And it was a great opportunity to hang out with everyone on the cruise. We went from the Netherlands, which I would 10 out of 10 recommend. I think that's my favorite country so far, all the way down to Switzerland. Didn't get to enjoy Switzerland, but we did go a lot throughout France and Germany along the way.
Nice. I've only been to Italy once
Okay.
before, and it's pretty nice. There's some family members that I have there, just a few. So that was one of the reasons. Got to go to Rome, Sicily, and Florence for a day and all. And of course,
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
got to see all the nice, things, the Colosseum, the Vatican Museum, all of these well-known things. But the one unique thing that blew me away, we were in Florence and our driver was driving us to Florence and we're in the Florence area and I'm looking out the window and I see a Blockbuster. And I didn't go in, but I'm looking, I'm like, is that a Blockbuster? And I wasn't sure if it was really in business or if it was just sitting there. So then
Sure.
later on, I researched and I typed in Blockbuster in Florence. It's really in business to this day, I believe. It's the only one in Europe,
Oh, wow.
all of
No,
Europe.
that's cool. That's
So I thought that was
cool.
a pretty
Yeah, I
neat.
remember going to Blockbuster when I was little. I mean, it's not something that's like I mean, of course I remember it. I think it was more like for the video games, but
Oh,
it wasn't a huge staple of my childhood, I'll say.
right. Yeah, I used to rent video games there myself.
Yeah,
And I saw on your website, and I believe you mentioned this too, that of course you do articles and you edit videos, probably your own for your meteorology, I would imagine.
right.
And documentary, is that like really documentaries or kind of?
I've done, yeah, kind of. I mean, nothing super official. I did get contracted to do one documentary style. It ended up coming out to about 20 minutes, if I remember correctly. And that was a big project. It's something that was really made just for the particular family. And then I was also working on another one, but I mean, I had everything. Well, I had most of everything that I needed, but then they kind of just got out of touch. So, things happen like that in business. You have to always, expect bumps in the road. But yeah, I've done two large style pieces, but I know that I could probably do, real documentary work, but thus far I haven't done like an official type of documentary.
Sure. So of course it seems like you're getting a lot of experience in video production in general, like editing videos,
Yeah.
writing your own stories. And of course, you mentioned, flying in a plane, so you're getting all these experiences and probably new interests. Do you think some of them may become more of an interest for you to say, yeah, I might drop meteorology that I'm learning. This is my new passion. I can imagine you can combine them all together almost and not leave one.
Yeah. Um, You know, of course, I've thought about this a lot, and now that I have my own business, I have the opportunity to do that, right? I could go really any angle. Hell, or excuse me, sorry.
That's okay.
Okay,
Hey,
I
you're
could
good.
go into yeah, sorry. I could go into really any industry. I could go back into a 9 to 5 job if I really wanted to. I can do anything, and I think that's the best part of having at least this opportunity. I'm young in my career, so I can really take any, angle. Um, I think a lot of people, their dream would be to, maybe like do something like, I don't know, like the ones on Discovery Channel where they're like, "Oh, come with me to explore Panama," and you're like doing your own videography and stuff like that.
Mm,
I mean, yes, that would be absolutely amazing. But then a part of me is like, man, there's already a ton of people that do that. So I don't even know if I'd have a chance. So, yes, I've considered it. I'm not exactly sure right now. Meteorology has been, treating me very well. But with the status of the industry, I know that, the industry is going downhill to an extent. So I might have to jump ship eventually.
sure. Well, you would think the industry would adapt 'cause I think it's more online, and I would think that's
Yeah.
successful compared to
Yeah.
TV.
Yes. Yes, I would agree. And so, I mean, I'm sure you've seen folks like Ryan Hall and Max Velocity. They're doing their own thing where they're literally sitting on YouTube and just broadcasting for now thousands, hundreds of thousands on some days, telling people, hey, there's a severe thunderstorm, or hey, there's a tornado heading towards you if you have family here. And like in some ways, they're beating the TV meteorologists. I mean, how many young people actually have cable television anymore?
Right.
Not that many.
Not
Exactly.
many.
So not many at all. So and even older folks, like they're going with streaming services nowadays too. So TV really needs to adapt. And so yeah, there is a space for digital, absolutely.
Yeah. It is funny because when you were saying like, oh, I wish my dream would be to travel the world and do my video vlogs, and you say, well, maybe who's gonna watch me? But you already got a good starting point, and I would think, would you think you'd be somewhat of you're kind of a social media influencer? Because all you got to be is online and have a face. It's kind of what everyone's got to do nowadays, whether you mean to do it that way or not. So I would think if you want to do that, you got a good head start.
Well, thank you for saying that. And I also agree. Like I think that if I really focused and pushed towards it, I think I could do it. And but there was a piece of advice that has stuck with me, and I mean I'll have to paraphrase it, but basically, there's people like everyone wants to start a business. Okay, maybe
Yeah,
not everyone, but a lot of people want to start a business,
yeah,
but only 10% of people, maybe less than that, can actually continue their business and support it throughout a longevity, or a long amount of time. And so the reason why only 10% of people can withstand or like maintain a business is because there's so many bumps in the roads. There's competition. Maybe you're not going to make money for several months, several years, even, like there's so many different aspects of running and maintaining a business that only a few people out there are actually able to make it. And so I love having my business. I mean, it has been amazing. But then a part of me is like, yeah, I mean, you always hear in your head, like, I can't do it, or there's already too many people out there, or whatever, or like even self motivation. Maybe I don't want to push that hard. It takes a lot of hard work too.
yeah.
So, it's all these things that are literally right now in my life. I'm kind of at a crossroads where it's like, okay, do I keep working super hard, pushing my business, maybe doing something like Ryan Hall or Max Velocity, doing it and doing it in my own way, or what do I do? So yeah, I'm not sure what exactly is in the future for me, but I know that life should guide me on the right path.
Sure. I mean, me personally, after seeing what you've done and especially your business, I think you're on the right path indeed. But
Thank
would
you.
you're welcome. Now, would you think you made it within your business, or is it hard to tell yet? Is it still a work in progress?
Yeah, I don't know if I could at all say I've made it. I could definitely say now that I've done my accounting, it's almost tax time. I
Mm,
had a good year last year, so that was a good feeling, especially when you compare it to my first job in TV. I will say, I did do better than my first job, so it's like, okay, hey, this is something here. Wow, and this is my own business, and I've had a lot more free time. I've had a lot more opportunity to travel. So yeah, absolutely, some aspects have been amazing, and maybe I could say, yeah, I made it to Europe.
Hmm.
But I don't know if I definitely can't say I've made it. I absolutely have to push harder and further if I were to consider myself making it.
Sure. Is it a challenge for you to for self motivation? And I know you sometimes you say like, oh, I can do this. No, I can't do this. Has it been getting easier, or is it still a little hard for you?
I think I think probably most people battle self-motivation. I mean, even like that's probably what procrastination is about, that people are
Yeah.
like, "No, I don't want to do my homework." Like, "Okay, maybe I'll do it tomorrow or the next day or the next day." In fact, I was actually always good at beating out procrastination in college. I always As soon as I would get the homework assignment, I would pretty much do it the same day or the next day. That way, once it was done, now I have time to relax. I don't have to worry about waiting to the last day until it's due. So, having my own business, I mean, once again, there's ebbs and flows. And so right now things have been slow. And so, yeah, you kind of beat yourself up and you're like, I don't know if I can do this. And then
Mm.
like last summer, I was working 12, 14 days in a row with several double shifts within that, and I was killing myself, but my business was rocking. I was doing amazing. So I think with anything in life, you have the wave of highs and lows. And so, yeah, maybe right now I'm a little bit like, I don't know if I can do it. But then maybe next week I'll be like, all right, it's game time. Let's do this.
Hmm. So I imagine since you said things are going a little slow for you, you're probably reaching out to other news stations to probably do freelance. I'm sure some would find you and reach out to you too, right?
That has happened. Yep, absolutely. And word of mouth. I mean, of course, I've been contacting, I think, pretty much every station I possibly can, at this point. So I'm sure they've seen my name a couple times, but also it's just timing. Like, maybe the station is fully staffed right now, but maybe in 2 weeks, 2 months, they're going to have two open spots and they're going to desperately need someone. So it's kind of just timing. You also got to think about, okay, when are the most vacations? Like, okay, spring break, that's a lot of people go out on vacation. Summer, lots of vacations there as well. So I think it's timing, and I'm still kind of too young in my business to really predict when I'll be busy and when I won't be, because I don't know, you just never know. And how can I predict every single TV station in the country when
Right,
I'm not there and I'm not following exactly what everyone's doing either?
right.
Yeah.
I'm sure this will be a long shot, but it'd be really interesting if you would be able to be a meteorologist for at least one weather station for each state. 'Cause then you'd be the meteorologist of the country, and
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
and then
Well,
you'd be
I
the
mean,
first. You'd be the first probably. I don't know if anyone's done it.
that would be quite an accomplishment. Absolutely. So,
It's
um,
possible.
it is possible. It is absolutely possible. It'll probably take a couple more years.
Yeah,
Absolutely. So I want to get another Texas station. I mean, I guess technically I've already covered Texas, but if I could do a remote Texas station, that would be awesome. I've already done California, Oregon, Missouri, two in Missouri, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia. So I've done five. So hey, we'll see, five and several more to go.
sure. That's cool. So, of course, Texas is not your home state. So, did any of your family members or friends move to Texas with you?
No, no.
Oh,
I mean, no, I've been on my own. It's not that I have bad relationships with my family, but we have our home bases elsewhere. So, yep, my mom, she still lives in Las Vegas. My brother, he's 22, so a little bit younger, and he actually plays professional volleyball, so he's
mm,
been traveling all over the country and the world. And then my dad, he's also a bit of a nomad at this point. So
mm.
nope, nobody has moved to Texas. I'm on my own, but yeah, I really like Texas. I want to stay here
Well,
for
that's
sure.
good. That's good. And it seems like that you're doing very well for yourself.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, I think I've gone through all the questions that I've had for you, and of course, you provided me with a lot of great answers and stories. Uh, but before we end this, is there anything else you would like to mention? Of course, besides your social media where people can find you, of course. If you want to, I know you want to advertise yourself, of course. Oh,
Well,
and I guess, yeah. Oh, and I guess, well, I guess one last question I would have before that would be, anything new that you have coming along, like special projects or ideas or plans? I mean, obviously the weather you can't predict that, so we can't really say that as far as
yes.
future.
Yeah. Well, I am planning a move. I have loved El Paso. It's been great to me, but I am planning a move going to San Antonio. So looking at in the next month or two to officially get there over to San Antonio, plan on building my studio up once again. I'm sure with that move, it'll probably, fire me up to well, I would say yes. I'm obviously open to accepting new jobs. I'm ready to go, and so. But just moving, I think, allows you to see the world in a different way. So I
Yeah.
imagine that I'll be able to get some new inspiration once I get out there. Also, I am planning on going to NAB again, the National Association of Broadcasters show in Las Vegas, my hometown. So I went last year, and man, if anyone needed inspiration ever, that would be the place to go to. It's an amazing. It's they call it a show because it is like there's like a floor where all the latest equipment. I mean, you would probably really enjoy it too. Um, all the latest movie making equipment, TV
Ooh,
equipment, just everything you can imagine from the best cameras in the world to the best everything. It's amazing. And then of course you get to meet with people who are just like you or have similar backgrounds and there's, thousands of people that go. So, planning on going there again this year and that will definitely, I'm sure, maybe give me my push to do something big or maybe just I'll have a new opportunity come through. So that's what's ahead on in my future.
cool. That sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
Oh, there's one last thing I want to show you.
Okay.
So it's definitely the last thing.
Okay.
The one podcast I saw with you, like I said, the only one I ever found, you mentioned you like the Olympics. Is that right?
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
So, have you heard of the Criterion Collection? How they, how this company gathers movies from, supposedly they say the best movies from all over the world, and they make them available. You can only find them at Barnes and Noble and online, like their websites and Amazon. Well, Olympics is one of them. There's been a long list of Olympics documentaries
Sure.
for many years. So this is what they call it.
Oh, hey, check that out.
Now,
Nice.
now it's like $400, but here's a better way to watch it. They have a few of them on their YouTube channel,
Okay.
and a better way is HBO Max. Some of those documentaries are on there to watch.
Okay.
Most of them seem, some of the early ones seem pretty artistic, so it's
Okay.
not like generic watching sports. And then you have some that are like regular documentaries that are interviewing the people. But I think the interesting ones would be the ones where they're very, very visually artistic, it doesn't feel like sports, it feels like a real movie, and a lot of them are in different languages.
Okay.
So not too
There you
many
go.
subtitles.
Yeah, you need subtitles for the Olympics for sure.
Yeah,
So
so yeah, I think that's something you might like to enjoy.
yeah, absolutely. I will definitely look into that. I love the Olympics. It's the definitely best sports event out there. So thank you for showing me that.
You're welcome. So any final final words, final thoughts? Uh, and how, of course, how can people find you if you like more weather gigs, of course.
Yeah, so for anyone who is listening who is considering starting a business, I mean, it is a big jump. There's a huge risk of starting your own business. It's not easy.
No.
You have to figure out how to do your own accounting. You have to figure out your equipment. There's probably going to be money that you're going to spend and possibly even lose, but you know what? I think that having your own business, if you are able to start it and at least try it, is an amazing opportunity. And I highly recommend it to anyone if they are thinking about it. And of course, there's all types of businesses, from being restaurant owner to having a small business like mine. But it's been an amazing opportunity. It takes a lot of work.
Yeah.
So don't think that you're going to get by and make $1 million on your first day, your first
No.
year. But with hard work, I think that anything is possible. And we all go through the ups and downs of life. We all go through lots of motivation, lack of motivation, happiness, sadness. We all go through it. And so if you're able to just persevere and just keep pushing, I think that's the most rewarding thing for you. So I absolutely recommend folks to start their own business, give it a try. That's what I would say.
Cool. Yeah, that's a great way to end it. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
A- And of course, with people want to find you, if they want to search you up,
sure.
Facebook, Twitter, or X, I guess,
X, yeah.
and,
Yeah, no,
and
I think
Instagram.
I'm on everything at this point besides TikTok. So just meteorologist Katie Frazier. You should be able to find me. If not meteorologist Katie Frazier, then Katie Frazier Weather. And I'm pretty much on everything. And I try and post somewhat frequently. Maybe I'll be on your TV sometime soon. There's just no telling. And I really appreciate you having me. And
Yes.
it's been a pleasure chatting with you.
Yeah, then thank you for being my first guest
Of
and th
course.
and taking time out of your, well, free schedule, I should say, not busy schedule, because you said you got some free time. So
I do have free time, yeah.
I'm glad I reached out to you at the right time.
Yes, you did.
All right. Well, thank you for listening or watching, everyone. My name is Nick Azarel. And this is Katie Frazier. And I'll see you next time. Have a great day.